say design is hot and big and awesome and everything, but I like to be somewhat cautious about everything. I'd like to make sure we understand what design really is. You know, design is not something new, it's something old. It's an old story. It's a story that goes back to the early 1900s when the Industrial Revolution came into play. And because manufacturing was a technology, you could make things at scale. But what's happening is that the technology forced the fabrication of things that were less attractive, less easy to use. That story has continued. Every time technology gets ahead of itself, design comes in to fill in the gap, make it more human. It always happens that way. I have always been interested in two things, and that is something about art and then something about science. And the conclusion is always the same, that art and science are really not different, that they're all one and the same. For this gathering here, I wanted to focus on this do both kind of theme. But it's always about this whole thing between the future and the past, the A versus B, the left versus right, the art versus science. When I moved to Japan, I had this problem because when you're someone who's like, you know, something American, I was Japanese American, and now you're in Japan, you're not American. I mean, you're not Japanese, you're not American, you're somewhere in between. This both person is hard to reconcile, and I see this room and I feel that we all understand that both thing is an interesting place to be. It's kind of uncomfortable, really. I was in Taiwan one time, and when I was in my 20s, and someone came up to me after I had been talking to different people, and he was very helpful, because oftentimes you're like trying to like live life like a goldfish, and sometimes someone reaches into you and says something important. And he said to me, you know, John, your problem is you live in the world of black and white. You have to adopt the gray. And that really changed me. What is the gray? Tora-san and all the characters I'd seen through all my childhood, television and movies, came to this simple fact, that everything was about the warrior, and everything was about the heart. And so the warrior is the top of the character, and the heart is the character that sits underneath it, and they combine. And this combination of things, to me, has been something that I have tried to understand and reconcile through Japanese media culture. Give me the profile of someone who you think would be perfect for a startup.
It would be someone that is scrappy, can have that vision and is inspired by the mission, so will go through the rough times, be excited for the wins, but really needs to be kind of like rolling their hands up and be very hands-on.
So we were talking earlier about designers and money.
Yes.
And being comfortable with it. Can you talk a little more about that, like what you teach?
You need to learn the business behind the product that you're creating. And I think that there are a lot of really talented designers out there who spend a lot of time working on products that may never reach like a mass audience because there's not really a business behind them.
Any of your designers or engineers ever hacked your own site? Since it goes out 3 new times a day, have you ever tried something just absolutely zany to see what would happen for 5 minutes?
We do a lot of experiments, so we are very experiment driven to find the best. So pretty much everything we build several versions, and then we see how they perform, and then we make changes. What is interesting from the designer perspective is that it's very intrinsic, right? So someone comes up with an idea, they love it, and you test it, and it works like hell. So what do? You need the right kind of person that are willing to pull back on their initial development, but we do it a lot. So some people are lucky, and what they intrinsically want to build, or the songs that they sing, or the sketches that they do, everybody loves, and they can go through life easily. But the rest of us, we need to actually test and try things and then use what works. So what do you tell to most people that are actually find themselves in that situation?
I've been exposing myself to so many new things. I told you that I'm like, I live in Massachusetts, and I'm in Silicon Valley, and I Airbnb everywhere and UberX everywhere. This is very uncomfortable for me. but I keep trying to be uncomfortable. So going back to your question, I believe that testing is always important, but most importantly, testing yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.